I was supposed to be gone for 2 months. Work thing. They needed someone to manage a temporary branch across the country. I'd get housing and a stipend. I didn't want to pay double rent, so I figured I'd sublet my apartment. I wasn't dumb about it. I didn't put it on Craigslist. I asked friends. One of them, Ethan, said his friend from college was looking for a short-term place while transitioning between leases. Sounded perfect. He connected us. The guy's name was Jeremy. Jeremy seemed normal, graphic designer. Said he'd just left a bad roommate situation and needed somewhere quiet to finish a few contracts. He offered to pay 2 months up front. Asked a few practical questions, utilities, garbage, parking. Didn't try to negotiate. We met once for coffee. He had a clean look, neutral energy, wore black everything and carried a laptop bag like it was glued to him. I trusted my gut. Seemed harmless. I made a quick sublease agreement. Basic terms, dates, rent, no re-subletting clause. We both signed. He paid cash, I gave him a digital copy. Set up auto-forwarding for my mail. Left a list of rules on the fridge, no parties, no smoke, no pets, no guests staying longer than 3 days. He said cool. The day I flew out, I left the keys in a lockbox by the door and texted him the code. He replied, "Got it. Appreciate you trusting me. Safe flight." I left, and for about 3 weeks everything was quiet. He didn't text, didn't call, didn't ask dumb questions like how to use the thermostat or where the laundry detergent was. I figured it was a win, maybe the best sublet I'd ever arranged. Until I got a text from my upstairs neighbor, Gina. She wasn't chatty. We nodded in the hallway, that was it. But she had my number from when the building had a water shutoff once, and I group texted everyone. Her text said, "Hey, I don't mean to be weird, but is everything okay with your place?" There have been a lot of random people going in and out lately, like suitcases and cameras and stuff. I stared at it, reread it 3 times. I replied, "What do you mean by random people?" She said, "Different ones every couple days. Saw 2 people with UK accents last week. Another group this morning with roller bags. Just thought you should know." I felt a shift in my stomach, like that hollow feeling when your brain connects dots before you're ready. I went straight to Airbnb. I didn't even know how to search for a specific address, so I typed the street name and filtered by entire place. Scrolled. Filtered again. Changed map view. Then I saw it, my apartment, my furniture, my exact IKEA lamp next to the bed. Posted under the name Urban Creative Loft. $124 per night, 4.9 stars, 6 reviews. I clicked through photos. Jeremy had staged it. My throw blanket folded over the couch. Coffee mug placed next to a book I didn't even own. He'd added high-speed internet and ideal for digital nomads in the description. My name wasn't anywhere, but it was my address. I checked the reviews. Guests mentioned great host, smooth check-in, beautiful natural light. One said, perfect for a short NYC trip, quiet building, self-check-in with code worked great. I nearly threw my phone. I messaged Jeremy, "Call me." Now. He didn't respond. I waited. Called. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. I checked the Airbnb listing again. It had open dates through the next month. He was still taking bookings. I texted him again. "This wasn't part of our agreement. You're using my apartment commercially. End it now." No reply. Then I messaged Ethan, the mutual friend who introduced us. He said, "Dude, I had no idea he was doing that. I thought he needed a place to crash. I'm so sorry." I sat in my temporary apartment 2,000 miles away just staring at my screen because suddenly I realized I was locked out of my own apartment and someone was making a profit off my life. And the worst part? He technically had a signed agreement and a key. The next morning I submitted a report to Airbnb. Not a guest complaint. A third-party property misuse report. It took 20 minutes to even find the form. I attached my lease, photos of the unit, my ID, screenshots of our agreement, and the full listing link. They replied 36 hours later. "Thank you for your report. We take property misuse seriously. We'll investigate this matter. Due to privacy, we may not be able to disclose the results." That was it. No timeline, no case number, No one I could talk to. I sent a second message. He is illegally listing my apartment. He has no ownership or permission. This is fraud. They responded with, hosts are responsible for ensuring they have the right to list their spaces. If you believe there is a legal issue, we encourage you to contact local authorities. So I did. I called the police precinct near my building. The officer on the phone sounded half asleep. I explained the whole thing, that I'd sublet legally to a guy who was now subletting it through Airbnb without permission. He said, so he's renting it out while you're gone? Yes, to strangers, for profit. But you gave him keys. Yes, for a personal sublet, not for commercial use. Did he break in? No. Did he sign something? Yes, but it has a clause saying he can't sublet or list it. Then it's a civil issue, not criminal. You'd have to go through housing court. I asked if someone could just stop by the unit, talk to him, warn him. He said they don't do that unless there's a safety issue or someone's in danger. Told me to call 311 or talk to the building manager. So I called the building manager. She answered on the first ring. I explained the entire situation. She said she'd noticed more people than usual coming through. Said she assumed I'd finally gotten roommates. I told her no, I'd sublet to one person, not a business. She said, if you've allowed someone into the unit and they're not breaking and entering, it's technically on you. We can't regulate guests unless it breaks the lease. I checked the lease. Clause 12. No subletting without prior written approval. I never got that approval. I'd skipped the formality because I thought it was temporary. Now it was biting me. She said, if Airbnb confirms it's unauthorized, we might be able to send a cease and desist. But until then, it's a gray area. Sorry. She wasn't rude, just detached. Like this kind of thing happened more than people thought. I called Jeremy again. No answer. Left a voicemail. You are violating our agreement. End the listing now or I'll escalate this. Still nothing, so I booked the Airbnb. I booked my own apartment for one night under a burner account. Used a prepaid card and a fake name. I picked a date a week out. 2 hours later, I got a message through the app. Hey, thanks for booking. Just so you know, check-in is contactless. I'll send the code an hour before. Let me know if you have questions. I replied, is the apartment privately owned? He said, yep, I've got access and full permission to host here. I didn't respond. Instead, I messaged Airbnb again. Gave them proof that I was able to book my own home through his listing. Screenshots, full thread. No reply that day. That night, my neighbor Gina texted again. FYI, another couple checked in. Eastern European accents. Seemed confused. I thanked her. Asked if she could take a photo of the guests for documentation. She didn't feel comfortable. Fair enough. I checked Jeremy's Airbnb calendar. He was booked solid for the next 17 nights. Do the math. He paid me $2,300 for 2 months. He was making about $150 per night. At 80% occupancy, that's over $7,000 in 2 months. He was flipping my apartment, my furniture, my appliances, my Wi-Fi, my electricity. He was running a business, and Airbnb didn't care. The police didn't care. The building couldn't intervene. Because I'd made the mistake. I'd handed over the keys. I'd trusted a connection. I'd signed a casual sublease without oversight. And now I couldn't get back in, legally or physically, without starting a formal process. I started the clock. 3 weeks until I flew back. 3 weeks to plan. Because when I got home, he wasn't going to like what I brought with me. The return flight was quiet. I didn't sleep. Just watched the seatbelt light flicker. Every hour I checked the Airbnb listing again. Still up. Still booked solid. He was hosting guests the night before I landed. I didn't go home right away. First, I went to the precinct. Filed a formal affidavit that my apartment was being used without permission. Not criminal. Civil. Then I took that document straight to the housing court. Filed for emergency repossession. Took 3 hours and 1 filing fee. Attached the original lease, my sublease agreement, screenshots of Airbnb, photos of my apartment, emails from the building. Even the burner booking I made. Printed and indexed. The clerk barely blinked. Said, we see stuff like this more and more. Come back at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Judge will review. Next day, I stood in a quiet courtroom while a housing judge skimmed through my stack. She asked if the person in question had violated a direct clause in the sublease. I said yes. No subletting, no commercial use, no short-term rentals. She looked at the Airbnb screenshots, then said, "Order granted. You can request physical enforcement through the sheriff." It took another 2 hours, but by the end of that day, I had a court-stamped writ of possession. Enforcement was scheduled for 7:30 a.m. the next morning. I texted Jeremy, "Final notice, you need to vacate. You've violated the agreement and listed my unit illegally. I have a court order. Sheriff will be present tomorrow." No discussion. No reply. 7:29 a.m. I stood outside my own door for the first time in 2 months. Sheriff deputy showed up right on time. Tall guy. Didn't say much, just checked the documents, knocked, then banged harder. Jeremy answered wearing gym shorts and holding a smoothie. The look on his face when he saw me standing next to uniformed authority? Flat panic. The deputy handed him the order, said, "You're to collect your belongings and vacate immediately. You are not legally authorized to rent or occupy this space." Jeremy tried to talk. I didn't think it was a big deal. I was just... Deputy cut him off. "Sir, you're trespassing. You've got 30 minutes. You'll be escorted. No debate." He packed in silence. There was a duffel, a laptop, and a few Airbnb cleaning supplies. Swiffer mop, air freshener, some linens I didn't recognize. I stood there while he handed over my keys. No eye contact. He said weakly, "You didn't have to go this hard." I said nothing, just nodded toward the door. He left. The deputy left. I locked the door behind them, and then I took a deep breath. The place was wrecked. Bed frame scratched, coffee table chipped, burn mark on the counter, towels stained. The guest book he'd left out was filled with notes from tourists. One said, "Thanks for the great stay, Jay. Loved the view. Will recommend." I sat down and filed a final report to Airbnb, attached the court order, photos of damage, receipt copies. They replied 5 days later with, "We've removed the listing." "This host is no longer allowed to operate on Airbnb. We're sorry for the inconvenience." No refund, no compensation, no apology. I didn't care, because the locks were changed, the account was banned, and I had my apartment back. Jeremy never tried to contact me again. Ethan, the mutual friend, DM'd me a month later and said, "I heard what happened. He told people you overreacted." I replied, "He can tell whoever he wants. He just can't tell it from my apartment." Blocked the number, deleted the thread. Now I never sublet. If I leave for more than a week, I lock every drawer, freeze rent payments, notify the building, and tell neighbors to report anything with a suitcase. Because I learned something simple. If you let someone in informally, but you're the only one playing by the rules, and they're already one step ahead, figuring out how to make money off your trust,